What is going on, Earth2.io enthusiast, novice, and everyone in between? There was recently a live stream with the CEO of Earth2.io as well as some of the top developers in the different areas and some C-level people, and they went over a lot of the common questions that I'm seeing out there, that I'm seeing in the comments, I'm seeing in different chats and forums and threads and whatnot. So they did a great job at answering a lot of stuff that's obviously on a lot of people's minds. I am going to try to distill all the information that they went over. It was a nice long live stream, so they went over a lot of information. It was actually pretty concise, especially considering how tired these guys were. So I want to dive right into it. Before we do that, I am transferring my Earth2.io content to another channel, and I am going to have the links to that channel in the notes below. I'm also going to be giving away, basically what I'm going to do starting off is I'm going to be using random codes as I make my purchases. If you want me to use your code, there's going to be a form in the show notes as well. Right now, Google Forms is not cooperating with me, so hopefully by the time I post this, I'll have a Google form that's set up for you to give me your information. I'm going to get your contact information, and I'm going to get your referral code so that when I make purchases, I'm going to pick a random code to use. I will use yours, and if you are interested in that, fill out that form. I will also be using your contact information to send out emails, maybe some text notifications. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to do text notifications because I know a lot of you guys are in different countries. But in any case, it obviously takes a little bit more time and effort to get these videos shot and then edited and then posted. So I've got all these notes that I could have just emailed out to everybody. So you'd have a little bit of an advantage getting that information sooner. If I have your email, I'll happily do that. But let's jump right into it. So it was a live stream between several of the founders, like I mentioned, the developers, and it was kind of hosted by Shane Isaac, who's the CEO. You could tell that they are all working very hard. They mentioned, it's 4 a.m. They're all over the world. So I think where Shane was the CEO, he said he was very tired. It's 4 a.m., but they wanted to get this out because there have been a lot of people who are like, is this a scam? What's going on here? Why is this not working? Is this just taking my money? I haven't had any experiences like that. I definitely see them lagging, like the servers are lagging, which just tells me that, and as they mentioned, it's growing faster than they anticipated. They wanted to rush this launch. Shane mentioned in the beginning, they wanted to rush this launch in 2020 because 2020 has been such a negative year for so many people. He wanted to have something that they could look back at and see 2020 as the positive start to something. And he had a really good speech in the beginning of that where he basically illustrated that. And they didn't expect the rapid growth. Even though that they rushed the start in 2020, they had a roadmap, and they anticipated about what they experienced in about 2 or 3 weeks of growth. They anticipated like over a year. So they had a year's worth of growth within just 2 or 3 weeks. So needless to say, they weren't prepared for it. Not only were the servers inundated and there's a lot of lagging that a lot of you were experiencing, though it has been better lately, but also manual things like processing payments, anything that has to do with having a human being put their eyeballs on it and make a decision or get back on the support chats and things like that. They don't have enough bodies as well. So servers and bodies were in short supply, and they are trying to hire, but obviously for something that is this sensitive and it's controlling this much money and it's got this much sensitive information and all these plans that they've got to keep under wraps, they obviously have to be very careful with their hiring process. They can't just hire anybody out there. So it's very interesting to see them going through this. The way I look at it is, if it was just you and 99 other people who had interest in this project, it's probably going to fail. The fact that there's so much interest and so much money pouring in with your investment, behind your investment, supporting your interest and everything else, supporting this entire project, I think that that's a good reason to be very optimistic with it. Now, I always say there's always going to be risk when you invest. It's just like gambling. There's no sure thing, no matter how good anything looks. Like these guys could all, I mentioned before in one of the other videos, or one or two of them, they could all be on a jet goes down, project scrapped, everything goes down. So there's always risk. Never invest what you can't afford to lose. But all things being equal and barring any unforeseen situations, they've got some smart guys, they've got some experienced guys, they've got some passionate guys, and there's a lot of people behind it. Now, I think that investments like less conventional investments like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, that's been raging for the last, Bitcoin technically has been around for a decade now, but over the last several years, it's been very popular. People are more confident and more comfortable with these less than conventional investments. And I also think combining, cryptocurrency and the advent of VR and AR and the skyrocketing success that esports is having in video games, that entire industry, I think that's making people a lot more willing and confident to invest in something like this. And this being the first of its type and first of its kind and such a monumental ambition, I think that is exciting a lot of people. I think it's going to only continue to excite people. So I'm very excited about it. Now, they did mention there are still some restrictions on some land. I've mentioned this in other videos as well. And some of those restrictions, there's different reasons. One of the things they brought up was, I forget if they said Dubai or Saudi Arabia. I actually stayed up very late last night doing these notes. I was taking these notes at 4 a.m. So I didn't have enough bandwidth and energy to shoot the video, so you had to wait till the morning, but here it is nonetheless. So Dubai or Saudi Arabia, I forget what, or the UAE, they mentioned that there's religious and legal stuff that they just have to navigate, and they want to make sure that they do it all right and not upset people. But it does seem like everything's going to be released eventually. Now, this is great for people who are late to the game. Because it means that there's still some land that is going to be reserved at 10 cents until it gets, unreserved and it gets released and everyone's able to start buying it. So it gives you some chance to still buy some land. Right now, there's still a lot of affordable land. I was buying some stuff last night where was I? I was in Senegal. I think I was in French Guiana and different areas in South America, buying like 11 and 12 cent land, I think. So there's still plenty of cheap land out there. But in any case, obviously that stuff is going to be, bought up. There's still a lot of first class land, class one land. And I mentioned that in another video explaining what class one land is. So buy it while it's up there. And there's still plenty, even if you get into this very late in the game, there's still going to be plenty of opportunities, just different types of opportunities. Obviously the sooner the better, but whatever. So where am I? They are mentioning the scammers. They're people who are pumping the prices. Basically, the way the market system works is it looks at the last price that land sold for. So let's say I go to Puerto Rico and I buy some land for 20 cents and then I sell it to a friend for $4. For a little while in the market, it's going to reflect a $4 price. Now, why would I do that? Well, if I have a bunch of land on the market in Puerto Rico and I have it listed for $1, I bought it for 2 cents or 20 cents. I sell it to my friend for $4. Now it's going to look like that $1 price is, fourth of the going rate. So people are going to jump on it. They're going to buy that $1, priced piece of land that's really only worth 20 cents. And then when it gets corrected, it'll figure out. And I've seen this with a lot of countries. Obviously, the smaller the country, the more likely it is to happen, just because there's less transactions going back and forth to kind of make everything equal out. But one thing they did say, and there's other ways to do some scams in there as well. And I have another video on that as well, so check that video out. But they did say everything is being recorded. So just because they don't have the bandwidth to catch people in real time, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to recognize that in the future. Don't be tempted to do that. Like I said, man, everything's recorded, and this is going to be a long game. If you're, doing little scams right now, it's going to look like potentially you might be missing out on dollars chasing pennies right now. Even if you're making dollars and tens of thousands of dollars doing these little scams, there might be a potential that you're missing out on because you don't know what the repercussions are going to be. They might not want to let you have part of Earth2.io. I got kicked off of Facebook for no reason whatsoever. I had the student as my last name, and now I can't have a Facebook account. So it might be something trivial that makes you miss out on a massive opportunity here. So play by the books. They said everything's being recorded. So be nice, be good, and it's just bad karma. Don't scam people. That's not nice. Let's see. Dylan CEO. His last name's SEO. He should have gone into marketing, but Dylan CEO clarified that he is a founder of Oculus. He is one of the founders from Oculus. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with Oculus, the VR gaming system that Facebook bought. It is the most popular gaming system that I know of, at least. He is one of the founders. Some people are going back and forth as to whether or not he was a founder, because some people said that he was the CEO, and he clarified, I wasn't the CEO, so you are kind of right, because I wasn't the CEO, but I was one of the founders. He explained his role in the company, but the way I took that is there's definitely going to be some strong VR backing and attention with this. He's already been part of he was a founder in a very successful, arguably the most successful VR platform to date. So his name and his experience is going to carry a lot of weight with it. And that's going to be great when they go for investments and other things, but also overseeing the different nuances of the product and seeing how the projects are going to play out. I'm very confident in the VR future with a guy like that at the helm. So that was one thing that they clarified, because I guess that was in debate in some of the forums. Shane also mentioned that he's been using the terrain. They're obviously working on it, but there is, it's not publicly available, but they are, able to go into the system, play around in it. I guess the whole world isn't built out yet. Obviously, it's a monumental task and probably going to take some time. And I think that's not until phase 3. I've got a video on that as well, so check that video out. That explains the different phases that they've mentioned so far, and the fact that I believe there will be additional phases. But Shane mentioned he goes in, I think he said he goes in daily, and he uses it as a de-stressor. So the platform does exist. They are able to go into it. He mentioned that he flies around in it. I believe he said that he flies around and de-stresses. So that was interesting. I wonder how he's flying around. I don't know if that's a feature or an ability we're all going to be able to have. But I think there's going to be different types of games to have. They also mentioned that like one of the questions was, will there be a player versus player ability or not? And they said if you wanted to do a player versus player thing, you could. If you didn't want to, then you didn't have to. You could just focus on this. So there's going to be a lot of different levels and aspects and features and a lot of dimension to this. I think there's going to be, I think it's going to be a host for multiple games. Again, watch Ready Player One. I know they actually referenced that in, I mentioned this in another video where I read through their ideology and their approach and the phases. Check that video out. But they actually mentioned Ready Player One by name. So if you're not familiar with that movie, check out that movie and it'll kind of give you some ideas as to what kind of stuff will be possible in this new, Earth that we're doing. All right. So where am I? Stage 2 identification and security is coming out probably within the next week. So this is New Year's Eve that I'm filming this, and he said in the next week. So in the beginning of January, the beginning of quarter 1, they will have 2-stage authentication. So it'll just make everything more secure. Obviously, we're dealing with money. They want to make sure that your investments and everything else are not vulnerable, and that is going to be coming out. It's something they don't have yet, but they are working on it, and something that is very important to them. So that is good to know. They also want to mention, as I mentioned before, they're a small team. The withdrawals have to be done manually. So right now, just to stabilize things, they are doing it all manually. They are looking for a better solution for that. Right now, I believe they're only using PayPal. They did apologize for people who aren't able to use PayPal. They are working on other payment methods and ways to get your money in and out faster. But right now, it's a very manual process. Like the CEO literally said that before, like he's about to go to bed and he sees some payments pending, and he'll go through and process them for people just because he feels so obligated to take care of everyone. So right now it is manual. It is because it's a manual, it is slowed down because it's a manual process and it's a small team. But between the hiring and finding better payment transaction methods, they will be able to get that all ironed out. Things are only going to get better. That was the overlining theme of a lot of this, is basically we're more successful than we anticipated. It's caused some things to get a bit sticky, but improvements are coming day by day, and they are working like around the clock. They are passionate about that. That's what's great. They're not just doing 9 to 5 and punching out. These guys are doing the 4 a.m. grind, and they're hustling to make sure that this all comes to fruition as fast as possible. There will be a clean slate. Now, this is going back and forth, but basically, they will wipe out all of the buildings and all of the roads. I knew that they were going, I didn't know this originally, but I did learn that they did have plans to wipe out the buildings. The roads was another thing I wasn't sure of, but yeah, they basically want to start with a clean slate, start from scratch. It's going to be interesting to see how Earth 2 develops, when I know a lot of people will initially go to build at the places that already matter in, our Earth. Should I call it Earth 1? Let's just call it Earth. So the places that already matter, and then the next question obviously is, well, why would I want to buy Disney World if it's just going to be, a blank space, some swampland in Orlando? Why would I want to buy Manhattan when it's just going to be, just an island in a certain part of the country with no roads or buildings? Well, you still want to buy these places for a few reasons. Number one, when you're playing around in this game, wouldn't you be intrigued to see what is on the island where, in this world, Statue of Liberty exists? So you're going to go there and check it out. Now, if I own that, that means I've got extra traffic to my land, the place that I own. So that's cool. Also, when someone is visiting these areas through your phone, a later version of their phone app, you're going to have like an AR, VR kind of feature where you can kind of peek into the Earth 2 world. So while you're at the Statue of Liberty, you go, I wonder what's here in Earth 2. And you pull out your phone and you're able to see it. Obviously, if you're walking around with an Oculus Rift, you'd probably, or any kind of VR, I guess you'd be able to do that as well as visit these places from the comfort of your own home or wherever you are. But they do have this ambition to make the two worlds kind of coexist. And he mentioned wanting this Earth to have the feeling of Earth 2 as much as possible, have that cohesion between them. So between AR and VR, and they also mentioned that even though the map will be wiped clean, there will be another map, like a map filter, where you can turn on and see, like, while you're in VR or at, in Earth 2 somewhere. And they also mentioned, I'll get to this later, but they also mentioned it won't be just VR. It will also be, I keep on saying VR, but it will also be console based. You will be able to, just like right now, we're accessing everything from the web. You will still be able to access it from the web. So if you don't have VR, you can still go in and enjoy and play, and you can access it different ways. So through VR, the AR kind of stuff, and through web, PC, whatever else. But when you're going through the regular world, they want to have that, like I said, cohesion. So it will be very exciting. And like I said, the popular areas that we go to, physically being there, wanting to look, gives me more traffic to those areas that I own. So, but I also, as I was getting to before, I think it's going to be interesting to see the way that we rebuild Earth. Like, we'll obviously start off with, the Chicagos and the Miamis and the New Yorks and stuff like that. But once those places are built out, like, where else are we going to go? Like, it's interesting because a lot of the development that we have right now is based on, at that time we were, back when we were developing cities, the places that started off with need access to water and trade routes and stuff like that. And a lot of times being limited by shipping or whatever the type of transportation was back then would kind of justify or dictate where cities would start, and then more people are going to probably go to where it's easier to live, and that's why cities grew so much. That's why you always see a lot of big cities tend to be really close to water. Chicago, New York, Miami, the places in California, that's where the ports were. That's where, stuff was coming in. And once you get off the boat, you could go further inland to no man's land, or you could just build your house a little bit further down the street from this guy's house, right? So that's kind of how we've developed now. Think about like Earth 2. Maybe there's going to be a way where I don't know what the transportation system's going to be like. Are we going to be able to like easily build something in the middle of the rainforest, and we build ourselves a nice palatial mansion in the middle of the rainforest and have our own little haven in there? And then maybe there's going to be some other people who are like, you know what, I want to live on a volcano. Are there going to be a bunch of cities on volcanoes? I don't know, but it's very exciting and it's very intriguing to see what the differences are and also the similarities when it comes down to the land developments. Now, speaking of land developments, you don't need to build your own land. You can allow someone else to build on your land. You can rent out your land. The whole thing that they want to do is increase. It's all going to be, they made it so it's going to be beneficial to have the value of our land go up. So whether you're developing it or allowing someone else to do it, renting it out, it's all going to be about increasing the value of that land. So you may want to allow someone to develop on your land for free, because it will increase the traffic to that land, and the traffic to that land, maybe there's going to be some kind of a dividends. Maybe it's going to increase your property tax, the income tax that you're going to be receiving, not paying. You're going to be receiving off of holding that land. So I don't know, maybe, some future e-game will have a race course, and they want to have, their race course go over your land. You might want to let them do that. Or maybe there's going to be, a new Disney World that's going to be built, or something similar to it that's going to be built in earth2.io, and you owning that land and allowing them to build that for free would benefit you. Or you might want to rent it to them, make some money, whatever. What else do we have here? They do monitor the groups and the discussions and the threads for ideas, and it does influence their ideas. So the conversations that people are having out there in the internet are being, there is some weight being attributed to them in the ongoing plans and development for Earth 2, which is something I thought was cool. They're being somewhat plastic with their game plan. I'm sure they have an overall objective, but the little details and nuances, they are willing to kind of adjust things. They are working on phase 2 right now. They're launching it as soon as they can. It is just not done yet. So they're anticipating that it's going to be done in quarter 1, or at least the first half of 2021. That's what they said on the website. And again, I go into those details in more and exactly what phase 2 is going to be. I go into that in another video, so check that out. But it is coming as fast as they can. They don't have a date yet, but as soon as they have it ready and everything's good and they've tested it, phase 2 will be rolling out. So that's very exciting. We are still in phase 1, obviously. They are hiring to grow the team. I mentioned that. It's a sensitive kind of undertaking, so it's not going to be as fast as they want. They want to have internal economies. One thing that intrigued me about that is imagine if we went back to before. A lot of you guys are probably too young to remember this, but right before the internet really exploded. Imagine if I were to try to describe to you like, oh, there's going to be this internet thing coming, and people are going to be able to have businesses without having buildings, and they're just going to have these websites, and it's all going to be virtual, and they're going to make tons of money, and there's going to be billionaires made from this internet thing. And you'd be like, how? I don't understand that. I think it's going to be very much like this. I think that there are going to be people who make their living off of earth2.io, between development and the resources and the different things that they're, and when I say development, I don't mean just land development, but also game development stuff. I think there's going to be, they're designing this to have its own economy. They want this eventually, I mean, it sounds pretty crazy, but they eventually want this, I think, to somewhat compete with the real world. So I think there will be people who have a significant amount of their life built in earth2.io, including the way they make money. You will have a full-time job or even a self-sustaining business in earth2.io. That's one of the things that they want, is they want to be as real and self-sustaining as possible. And having a myriad of different internal economies is paramount to that. Resources will not be completely random. This is something that I've been unsure about, but they did clarify it won't be completely random. But there will also be a way to terraform your land. So if you, I'm not sure what extent you'll be able to terraform. Does that mean that if I just buy someplace in the desert, will I be able to turn it into a forest and have wood and water and have those resources? Will I be able to buy some random beach and turn it into a gold mine? I don't know. But they also mentioned it would definitely behoove you to buy, it's not going to be completely random, so it would behoove you to buy locations with the resources in mind. So if there's a gold mine or an oil field and you buy that, you're going to be more likely to expect gold or oil to be there. Now, will oil be necessary in Earth 2. I don't know. Earth 2. I don't know. Will oil be necessary in Earth 2.io? I don't know. What are the vehicles going to be like? Are we going to have like electronic vehicles? Are we going to need vehicles? Are we going to be able to teleport? Like, I don't know. Are we going to have planes? Are we going to be able to fly ourselves? I have no idea. But it wouldn't be bad to buy some land. Worst case scenario, especially if you're getting it as a class 1, you'll be able to make some money just holding it, maybe develop it later on, even if you don't get the oil out of there. I'm sure gold will probably have some kind of value, just because everyone loves gold. So that's the gist of it. They did go over some other things that I don't think are as crucial to the strategy, and it's probably some stuff that you either already know of or can be found in on the website or in my other videos. But this is the most important stuff that a lot of it I was unsure about and I was unfamiliar with. If you want to know more about the phases and classes or what Earth2.io is or strategy or anything else like that, check out my other videos. Please like and subscribe and turn on those alert notifications. Please make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my videos. I will be producing more Earth2.io videos. Some are going to be on my initial channel, Meal Prep Biz 101, but the majority, the lion's share of the Earth2.io videos will be on my secondary channel, just to kind of bifurcate things and clean it up, since I do plan on doing so much Earth2.io content in the future. So make sure you're subscribed to that second channel if that's all you want to hear about. If you want to hear about Meal Prep Biz stuff as well, then obviously subscribe to both channels. And don't forget, links in the show notes. Check out that Google form. Give me your details. I'm making purchases every day, multiple times a day. I was up buying stuff at 4 a.m. last night while I was listening to their live stream. So, I'll use your code, give you some money, help you, help me, and kick you back something for the support. Thank you so much. I hope this helps you guys with some investment strategy and figuring out where to buy, what to buy, and how to go about buying. And like I said, stay tuned. I've got plenty more ideas for videos, and I hope you guys have a great day and safe investing.